I don't think that's on your sheet, guys. Just I hear you guys looking for the thing. But that's Deuteronomy 11, 18, and 19. And if you read the verses leading up to that scripture, right, it's talking about, all of the things that the Israelites had gone through, right? The things that they had seen, right? They got to witness the Egyptians, God closed the Red Sea, and they got to witness all these things, all these miracles. And God was basically saying, like, look, you got to witness these things firsthand. Your kids didn't. And so talk with them. Talk to your kids about them. Tell them what happened. Like, tell them about the miracles that you witnessed, because it's going to build the faith in your kids. And that's my encouragement to you guys too. Like, don't keep your faith secret. Don't keep it hidden. Talk to your kids about the things that God has done in your life. Our oldest, when he was 16 years old, he came into our room. Like, I remember, I can almost picture it in my mind. He came in our room one day and he was like, yeah, I don't really know if I believe in the Bible. And I was like, what? Like a knife in my heart, right? I was like, what do you mean you don't know if you believe in the Bible? He's like, yeah, I've been raised in church my whole life, and I'm just trying to figure out what I believe. And so I had to stop for a moment before I choked him or anything.
Or said, go see your father.
It's how we respond in those times, right? I had to take a deep breath, and I said, you know what, Zach, let me share with you what God did in my life when I met Jesus. And I started sharing with him testimony after testimony. Like, I remember where I was when I was like feeling desperate and feeling like, God, are you real? And I was about 13, 14 years old. And I remember just feeling, you know what, if this is life, because I had things going on with friends and, all this mess. But I remember thinking, if this is life, life sucks. And I remember just crying, and I cried out in my bedroom and I said, God, if you are real, I want to know that you're real. And I felt the presence of God in my room that day, like a big bear hug, just wrapped his arms around me. And I just felt this peace that came over me. And I began to share that with Zachary and just tell him, like, look, this is my testimony. And I told him that day, I said, Zach, I said, it's okay to question. God is big enough to handle all of your questions. I said, but it's not okay to question and not do anything about it. So if you're going to question, then you need to dig into the Word yourself, and you need to seek God. Because I trust that if you're really, truly seeking after God, that he's going to show up for you just like he did for me. And that kind of began his search. And he did start going to the Bible and start reading it. And, he came to us like, I don't know how many months later. But he said, you know what, Mom, I've done a lot of research. I've read a lot of books. And he said, it would take more faith for me to believe there is no God than for me to believe there is a God.
Yeah.
So
and he's a very logical kid. He grew up in the classical education, Socratic method, which is a blessing and a curse, right? Because they taught him to challenge everything,
mm-hmm.
debate everything, look at both sides of the coin.
Right.
But ultimately, it ended up being a good thing. Mm-hmm. And it's good that Sarah was able to share that, right? So,
and that's what we want. We want our kids to own their own faith, right? They can't live off of our faith, right? At some point, they have to come to a place to where they can own it, and they can, like for me, because of that experience with God in my room, like I didn't need to know all the why. I didn't need to know like all the history. Like that was an encounter for me that people could come to me and say, God's not real. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? But not everyone has that experience, right? And so we need to be able to back up what we believe, right? That's important because there are going to be times when people, and especially today, our kids today, like things are being thrown at them.
Right.
You know, they're trying to disprove the Bible, like the things that our kids are learning. And so, you know, it's important that our kids are able to defend their faith.
And there's so much controversy out there. And if we're not willing to talk to our kids about the hard issues, things that they're learning in school, on social media, they'll go find an answer.